Welcome to Season 3 of the Retail Tea Break podcast. My name is Melissa Moore, the Retail Advisor, and each week I'll be joined by industry experts, retailers and product creators to decode the myths, share knowledge and give you an insight into the industry. So grab your cup of tea, sit back, relax and listen in to Season 3 of the Retail Tea Break podcast. Today, I'm joined by a multi-award winning retailer and product creator. This contemporary Irish artist has created her own brand of greeting cards, fine art prints and designer scarves, all whilst running a busy craft and giftware business. Rita Oates, welcome to the Retail Tea Break podcast.
Thank you, Melissa. It's lovely to be with you.
I'm delighted that we're having this conversation. So look, cards on the table. Rita and I know us. I'm a huge fan of her work. I'm really looking forward to today's episode.
Thank you.
So look, let's jump straight in. In the time that it takes to boil a kettle, which I'm told is about 2 minutes, tell us a bit about you and the businesses.
Well, I'm a contemporary Irish artist and I've created my own brand of greeting cards, fine art prints and designer scarves. My art contains an image, a line and a story. And you can dive deep or you can stay and just enjoy the image. But all the lines are meaningful and positive and I hope unique also. So with 38 years experience in my gift.
Wow.
ETL Craft and Giftware. It's on the main street in Roscommon. And it has taught me so much. Experience teaches you more than anything in life, you know. And so the shop has giftware. So we have jewelry and handbags, textiles, a lot of big Irish craft. And gifts, we have gifts for well-being, we have books, and we have greeting cards. And it was really in the greeting card section where we'd have 18 stands, over 2,000 cards. And so a customer would come in and we wouldn't have a card that they were looking for. Somebody was going through, came up with a second time. They had sent the get well. Or somebody was immigrating to Australia. Bon voyage didn't say what you really wanted to say. So I saw this gap in the market and I said, I'm going to fill that. But there was another story and it was, I had a teacher that really inspired me. Sister Veronica, and I used to watch her and she used to praise the student that did their best, not the A student. If you even failed and you were giving it your all, she praised you and gave you confidence. And I thought, you know, that's what life should be about, being the best you can be, you know. So when I was 28 and I had matured, for some strange reason, I said, I thought of her and I sent her a blank card, because in those days there weren't these cards that said, anyway, I didn't think it said what I wanted to say. And I just said, you inspired me. And I thanked her for how she did that in my life as a student. And she wrote back to me and she said, I have retired from teaching. I've moved to the Falls Road to work with the communities there. Now, this was in the 80s when nobody moved. And she said, but I want you to know that I taught for 40 years and you're the first person that wrote to me and told me I made a difference. And she said, your one card has made all my teaching career worthwhile. And so that resonated with me, that we don't tell people what we need to tell them. You know, not a big elaborate thing. No, I didn't give her a present. All I said, you know, how I had watched her and she inspired me. And so as a result, I call my cards a legacy to Sister Veronica. And each of them start with a piece of my art. And then I have a simple line on them from what inspired them or what I want them to say. And then the story's on the back. So there's layers of meaning, do you know? And it's allowed me also, because as an artist, I really did not like art exhibitions. So it allowed me to find a place for my art. Yeah. It's wonderful because my art, the lines of my art, examples would be learning how to bend in COVID. Do you know, layers of understanding, you know, when you, always my child, always my love. And like, then you can go to the back for more. But I've got so many emails from people that have received them or sent them that sometimes I do say, I give people the words they need to say, but they just don't know how to open that door. And I suppose one of my favorite stories about one of my cards is a gentleman was in once asking me about my work, and I was explaining this one. The line on it was, there is a field beyond fear, and I am traveling there. And I said, you know, before, when I was starting my art, I saw this as a symbol that I was in dread of it. And this was my first card to create, that there was this fear of starting a whole new business. And I was going to go there. And the second card he picked up was just an image. I'll show it to you here. It's a mother and child. And the line on that is, always my child, always my love. And he said, what's the story there? And I said, I had a 16-year-old and I have 6 kids, so I can tell you this story. And one day I made a comment about a friend and the words went back and forth. And I just looked and saw, gosh, this is accelerating into a huge row that I never anticipated, you know. But I went down and I drew it in the art room, and it was just the mother holding her child. And the story in the back reads, this image depicts the love between a mother and her child, the bond unbreakable, the love unconditional, always my child, always my love. But the reason I'm telling you this story is that when I looked up, I explained it to him, and when I looked up after reading the back, he was in tears.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, as am I here, which is a first for the podcast.
Yes, but he said to me, I'm estranged from my daughter from 8 years.
Wow.
And I gave him that card, and I gave him the card that said, there is a field beyond fear, and I am traveling there. And I had another card that's mountains of love. And I said, think about them. We all are in that place. But 5 weeks later, I got an email, and the email said, I want to shoot you a thank you. You gave my father your card.
Oh, from the daughter.
From the daughter. And like, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes like my lines are things like, you are my rock. It's hard to say, you know, or, you know, they're words that are simple. And I have dozens of stories of people that have connected from different cards. Like I have over 100 cards now. Wow. What started with 12, you know, 4 years ago.
But you know what? I can look and park the fact that we're talking about retail and you being a maker from a consumer, as I am listening in. I can absolutely understand why there's such a connection, because I am sitting here welling up, glazed over. There's such emotion in your words. As you said, you almost you give someone the idea through the image and the line, but actually then they make of that what they will, or it joins their story for what they want to say. And there is such meaning behind your work. But also, you know, as everyone now hears, you're such a brilliant storyteller, and you do an awful lot of storytelling with your art as well.
Yeah. I suppose I love it, and it was something all my life I wanted to do. But when I was in Leaving Cert, my class wasn't taught art. We weren't taught science. We had to do domestic science. See, I'm of that generation, you can see. So there was all these gaps in the market, but I suppose it was always there. I wanted to do it. I couldn't do it in college because I had no portfolio, but I went and did every weekend course, or I went to America and did a drawing marathon. I went 6 years to GMIT to do the degree in art that you could do part-time by going 1 day a week, drive up and down, rather than being a full-time student in Galway. So I was always feeding it, but I had 6 children to put through college. So I stuck with the retail work until that was done. And the minute the twins finished college, I started my artwork, because I knew I could give it the time and I could stand back, and I love doing it. And I suppose I'm very grateful at my retail outlet, because it has given me the experience. And things change, as you know, Melissa, in retail, continually change. And I can see the trends on the ground floor. And years ago, people just wanted a gift. Now they want a meaningful gift.
Yeah.
They want a meaningful card. Like we have texts to send happy birthday, emojis, you know, and the same. So I see in the card business, let's say people used to come in and buy 2 boxes, 3 boxes of 30 cards for Christmas. Now they want a special card for their godmother, or a special card for their sister and her husband. So you have the sales, but a different type of sale. It's not, and the same with giftware. It's not the value of what they're spending. They just want something that says something. And I suppose in COVID, you saw the well-being become so important to people. And people want to give something that is of of value, and more, which is wonderful at the moment, is they want to give Irish product. Do you know that program that the Leos ran for Shop Local, really to buy Irish? You know, people got it and they saw that supporting each other, we were going to come through all this, and still are, you know. So and they understand. I see it on my retail and I see it with myself, that when you spend €10 on something Irish made here, it generates, bought in the shop that is in your town, it generates €70. So you because that shop assistant is going to the hairdresser, going for a meal, and we're creating such a volume of employment when we do that. So in ways, producing Irish product has become so much more rewarding because people are seeking it out and they see the quality now. They really do, you know.
Actually, that's a really nice thought. I've never looked at it that way, that you find it more rewarding now because people are appreciating what you do. But I suppose, and you've alluded to it there, you're a retailer, you're a maker. Is one harder than the other? Or I suppose, do they feed into each other? How do you find it? Because you have both perspectives.
Well, I suppose they both have challenges, and they both have great rewards. But in a way, as a retailer, I have dozens of customers each day, you know, and I feel all of those customers are looking for quality, and they're looking for value, and looking for uniqueness. But then as a maker, again, I have suppliers, which are buyers for shops, which so you're dealing with one person instead of 100 people today, you know. So, but it's the same thing. And I suppose as a buyer in my shop, that's what I'm looking for all the time, is a quality, unique and valuable gift. And as a producer, I'm looking that won't work. It's too dear. Or this will work. I can fit it in, you know. So you're doing the same thing. And this is, sure, there's hundreds of those out there. I want to get something that's really different and comes from the heart, you know. So in that sense, whether you're a maker or a retail buyer, you're providing probably the same function, you know. Yeah.
And do you think then, as a maker, are you able to, we'd say, react quicker because you almost see that, I don't know if trend is the right word for what you do, but you're seeing the way that consumers shops or changes their shopping habits? Are you then as a maker able to react to that a bit quicker than maybe waiting until the next trade show or the next year?
Yeah, and see, exactly, I'm able to react to it. And I suppose, you know, that's the disadvantage. As a retailer, I can see on a daily basis things change and whatever. Whereas often as a maker, you might only have the one trade show a year. Or one, and you know, it's great on another level that I understand buyers, because I know I shield myself. I have 100 things to do. I'm at the stage, I used to have a now list. I have a now with the star list as well as a now list, you know. I mean, I can't be continually interrupted, you know, by my suppliers to look at things and see things. So that's probably the disadvantage. And maybe that's what, as a buyer, I try to connect twice a year at least, or 4 times a year, if there's really because it's the communication between the two that makes me good. It's communication with my customers on my shop floor, but it's also communication with my suppliers. Have they something new and different? And, you know, and it's not always, I think, as watching makers come in or suppliers come in, they're always telling you about a price cut or a price. It's not about that. It's about a new design you might have, or a new, you know, communication.
That's really interesting. I think we all have become obviously a lot more price conscious at the moment. But as you kind of said, starting off a few moments ago, it's about the emotional connection. So therefore, if a maker's coming into you so focused all of a sudden, not on their making process, not on the beautiful new items that they've created, if they're so focused and panicked by price, it must be giving you as a retailer the wrong impression.
Yeah, I think that, because even my customers, aren't focused only on price. They do have a price point, and I know that, and my suppliers should know that there are price points you work around, you know. And if it's a present for a babysitter or a present for your mother, there's two different price points. But you will be swayed if you get the right thing, you know. And I think it's about quality and communication, that there is a new design. This is new. It's not something she would have got last year or the year before, you know. So it's all about that level of communication between things, you know, and between each stage.
No, and that makes a lot of sense. And again, it's not something that people tend to talk about, because you feel as a buyer or as a retailer, you almost want that maker to come in, come out, show you what they've got, or send you on the new product list. But actually it has to be deeper than that. And because you have the two hats, you know, you wear both, being a retailer and a maker, have you any kind of tips from what you've picked up over the years, really, of having both businesses? Any tips you'd have, either for a retailer dealing with the maker or a maker dealing with the retailer?
Tips, I think communication. I think that you need in this, you know, for my retail shop, I think when I know the story, when I know the maker, when I know the couple that's an artist, when I know the story of even the production line, they have a team of 3 others, or this proportion, because everything can't be made in Ireland. There's 10% here that has to be brought in, but this and this are made in Ireland, and they're actually made in my kitchen, or they're made in a garage I've converted. When you know those stories, like this button studio in it alone, I love selling the work, and when I sell it, I actually tell people she is such a lovely person that I love selling her work, because I've got to know her over the years. And I think that's what people want to hear. So that's the tip I give. Understand your product. And even then, if you took on a retail side, if you're calling, is there a certain day that helps you get deliveries better than another? Do you know, have that communication, that it's easier to work with you, because I know that the weekends are mad. So if I send a thing out on a Friday, you'll get it on the Monday when it suits you, rather than sending it out on a Thursday. And so it's communication,
But actually, do you know what? They almost seem really obvious, but again, you've seen it, I've seen it go wrong. As you say, the last thing you want is stock arriving on a Saturday morning or at a crazy time when you haven't got time to put it out. It is simple communication. It's really, I think, building on that retailer relationship by the sounds of things. But from both sides, equally, both sides have to give in order to really develop this relationship.
Yeah. And I find particularly when I visit a store and I'm able to talk to the staff, you know, and tell them the stories behind my product, or they get to know me, and all of a sudden it's a personality. It's not this brown box that comes in, you know, and you know, and they can ask you, have you something for this occasion? And you can suggest it, or these are my 3 best sellers, but you might love this one. Because even I see certain items I have sell so well with this personality, because they connect with it, you know. So you, by building on that relationship, you can so build on your product.
Well, it's so valuable. I mean, forget about the money side of things. I think for brand awareness, it's hugely valuable, as you said. And again, it's something I preach about, that actually talking to the staff on the shop floor about your brand as a maker is absolutely key to them being able to sell it.
Yeah, it is, you know, and you become people, both of you become people. And I know that this person will like this almost before I even create it, you know.
It's the right way forward. And actually, I think it gives long-term value. You know, we're buying Irish. You want to hear the story. You want to hear the lovely tales of it being made at the kitchen table or the studio behind the house. But you've talked about team there, communication. I have to ask, because I don't know how you do it all, and I've said this to you before, how do you manage all the different hats you wear, running a business, being an artist, and obviously having that headspace to create? What's the reality like nowadays for juggling all these balls?
Oh, with difficulty, and definitely COVID has even made it more difficult. But I suppose when you love what you do, it's easier. But I would think I have a great team around me, you know. And Gillian is with me 28 years. You
Wow.
know, so many things off my shoulder. But Joanne and Emma, they all have such great talents. and seeing that talent and let them run with it. And that takes it off my shoulders. And I suppose it's about delegating and seeing the talent in the team around you and building on the talent. And I wouldn't be here without them supporting me in so many ways, even their opinions on things. Rita, that's way too dark, or that's way too loud, you know, and will you do something for this? And it's great to have that team, and it's great to, with time, the experience and the camaraderie. So,
you know what, you can feel that in a shop. I've obviously been in to see you in the store, and they don't know me in that respect, your team, but you can feel that as a consumer when a team are good at what they do and they know the product, when they want to get to know the customer, understand the customer, and therefore what they need, you can feel it in bucket loads.
Yeah. And it is a talent. It is a huge talent. Don't think it comes natural, because when we established ETL 38 years ago, my husband was a front man because he was the people's person and I was the back office. And that's where I love, and even with my art, you know, it's going on quiet walks with myself and, you know, writing by myself, you know, so I'm really, and so it's great that I have these people that can be much more front.
I love that. It's wonderful. And I love the passion that you speak about your team with. So it brings me to the last question, but actually this is quite exciting. So normally at the end of a podcast episode, I ask what's coming up for you over the next 6 months.
First thing is Art Source. I do it every year, and it's November the 10th to the 13th in the RDS in Dublin. And it's over 200 Irish artists come together. Wow. And they show their original work. So last year I had somebody on this side selling things from 100 to 300 and somebody on that side selling artwork from 40,000 to 80,000 euros. So it's a great experience to see all the different price points, but also the mediums, watercolor, oil, sculpture. And it's just, and then you can meet the artists and see what inspires them, you know. So I have that happening in November. And then one of these things that you start as a little idea and it just becomes a mountain, but it's worked out 10 times better than I ever imagined. With after Christmas, I decided that I was going to move a partition in my shop. And as my husband would say, a lot of things I suggest, I introduce them as a small thing. I'm moving a partition, you know, and I told my carpenter the same. And 8 weeks later, when he is still every day in my shop, they look at each other and they say she was moving a partition, you know. But then I said, take down this shelving, and will you know, would we get lights here and would we get a ramp here, because it's 2 steps, and it just grew and grew. But at the back, our building is ETL Craft and Gifter. It was built in the 1800s by the Bank of Ireland. It's a beautiful limestone building on the main street of Roscommon on the square. And at the back of the shop was a coach house. And these are the walls behind us. And it was stored for years, for the 30 years, it was storage space for the shop, you know. And so I just said, we'll move the partition, we'll strip the walls back to what it was. And so you have these beautiful stone walls upstairs and downstairs. And I'm creating an art gallery in this space.
Wow.
Not only be my art, you know, it started as maybe, but it's, I look at art. I believe we absorb art. When I go to the play school with my grandchildren, I feel the fun. It's Mickey Mouse on the walls. When I go to the church, I feel the reflective silent space. And that is the art and the architecture. So this is going to be kind of a gallery of original pieces. But I've asked a milliner, because I regard as beautifully created hats being art. A sculpture, there is going to be glass, there's going to be wood.
Wow.
So I broaden that, and I have a calendar of 10 separate months in which we'll exhibit. But because it's quite a large space being upstairs and downstairs, and it's a beautiful space, I feel it's going to be, Roscommon is a fabulous town. We in Roscommon have 5 minutes from my front door in the shop. You can go down to see the castle, you can see the beautiful gardens down there, the play area. It's a beautiful space. Then you have the jail, you have the abbey, you have beautiful restaurants around me, both Gleason's Townhouse, you have Rogues and other shops. So you can come to Roscommon, look at an art gallery, go down to the castle, just enjoy your day here.
What an incredible, absolutely incredible kind of insight. I think, you know, Tourism Island, take note. Roscommon is absolutely stunning. And as you say, everything, and it is, maybe that's the good thing about being so small, everything on your doorstep. And now this amazing venture. And I have to say, I've been in the space recently. It is beautiful, beautiful.
Oh, I'm so pleased. And Joe Casson is going to be one of the first people, but I have a few other gyms just lined up. He's a Roscommon artist that's internationally known, you know, and so it's going to be exciting, and it's my opportunity to support artists, because as I said at the very beginning, like, how many galleries are there in Ireland? And if they have, you know, so you have a one exhibition each month, with the space missing 10 exhibitions a year, so you can only really support 10 artists. If one of them is a huge success, you repeat them the following year. So I mean, it's so hard to find that middle ground where people have the chance to show art. And originals are different. Now, that's nothing against prints, because prints are wonderful, but it gives you a purpose. Like Art Source gives me a purpose. It focuses me on getting new stuff out there. It can't be what I did last year, you know. So, but I see, I love art. I love what it communicates. As I said, I feel we absorb it. We don't even know that it is part of our life a lot of it. It's like music. We use it. It can change our humor. You know, and it's all around us. Our kids get it so much more than we do, you know, because we've educated ourselves and comes to, so it's great. Yeah. So I have a few things lined up for children in this space, because I'm the mother of 4 teachers, and 2 of them very involved in art and their teaching careers. So yeah, it's going to be exciting and different. And
it absolutely sounds it. And I think it's a wonderful space to have. I think the art community and also the wider community are going to be very grateful for this space. And I think it's going to open up art, as you say, not just kind of imagery that's framed on a wall, to so many more people. And it's really powerful. So not only a retailer and a maker yourself now, but also a gallery curator. And it sounds incredible. So I wish you the best of luck with that, Rita. It's been an incredible episode, one that's almost made me cry, to one that leaves me feeling really fulfilled and excited about what's to come next, because it's going to be so exciting and heartwarming. So if you've enjoyed today's podcast episode, please like and share this episode. You can follow Rita, and Rita, give us out your email, your website address there.
Rita, www.ritaoatesartist.ie.
Fantastic. And I'll obviously share the links when this episode goes out as well. So until next time, Rita, thank you so much.